Hello, welcome in. I am Tammy Masterbirdie, best-selling author of the book The Universe is Talking to You. Tap into science and synchronicity to reveal magical moments every day. And this is my weekly spirit boost. I am back. Once again, I'm live every Thursday at noon Eastern. And so today I am here to share with you once again sort of a personal story and lessons from my life that I think can help you and apply to you. So a lot of what I teach is I teach people how to sort of tap into the divine higher helpline, to get in touch with loved ones who have passed on, to get in touch with the universe, your angels, your guides, guidance. And honestly, a lot of that includes animals. And I don't always talk about animals because that's not my specialty. Here comes my animal, my indoor cat, Callie. So I don't always talk about animals, but anytime I'm talking about signs and things like that, animals are included. I believe in animal communication. I have trained in it myself. I know many animal communicators who can communicate with pets who have passed on as well as pets who are alive. And so it's the same as talking to a soul who has passed on, in terms of a loved one. An animal has a soul and can actually communicate in the same way. If you're not familiar with it, it may sound crazy, but it is unbelievably true, and I've witnessed it. So the story I want to share with you today is we have, when we first moved in here, we had 2 barn cats that we started taking care of. Not to go into the whole long story, but we wound up taking in some other feral cats because they needed a home. And it turns out that last year, one of them had passed away, and we wound up finding it. Her name was Ruby, and we wound up finding her. My husband, I spotted her far from the property. I could see where she was, sort of in a wooded area, and my husband found her, not a scratch on her body. And we thought, this is really weird. She's only 2 years old. But I remembered that her brother, before we took in these feral cats, her brother died less than 6 months old in a sort of mysterious way also. And so I remember saying to my husband, I wonder if these cats had some type of congenital heart thing, or there was something going on. So we wound up, we were down to one of the original barn cats that we took over, and one of these other cats, because one of the original barn cats also passed away, which I'm going to talk about in a minute when I talk about signs from pets who have passed. And so those of you might know that we had this big barn fire, and I was so worried about the cats, but they were totally fine. And then Citrine was afraid to go into the barn, and I came on here and said how I did all this clearing on you. Hi, Mary Lou. And I did all this clearing on her, and she was back in the barn, and everything was great. So it was weeks after the barn fire. I cleared her. She was back in the barn. All was well. And all of a sudden, she wasn't there when we were going to feed. And now sometimes when we go to feed them, and we go twice a day, sometimes I'll go more than twice a day just to visit and give them treats. Sometimes she's not there because she would be out and about, sort of just within the area of the barn. She never went far. And she wasn't there for a day. And then it was 2 days. And then I said to my husband, oh my gosh, I wonder if something spooked her again. And now she's afraid. She's back to being afraid to go back into the barn. But he was like, I don't know, I have a bad feeling. And I was like, why do you have a bad feeling? Don't stress me out. And so it was a couple of days after the last time we first saw her that he wound up finding her not far from the actual barn, because he's intuitive, thank God, and went looking. And she had passed. Again, not a scratch on her, nothing attacked her. Nothing was wrong with her, only 3 years old. We hadn't been taking care of her for that long. And we were heartbroken, because I thought, oh my gosh, did we do something? Did we ignore a sign or something? Should we have scooped her up and taken her to a vet? But she was totally fine, right? So, of course, I was like, I have to I have friends who are animal communicators, and I said, I have to find this out. I have to know if something is our fault. I have to know, what's going on or whatever. And so, so basically, I talked to an animal communicator, and this is what I want to share with you, because I think we all have pets. Obviously, these were outdoor cats, but we love them the same as they were indoor. Obviously, they're not like this one is on my lap right now. But still, they're pets. And I believe that any animals that come into your life, even if it's just in passing, even if it's just a dog that wanders into your yard or whatever, I believe they all have messages for you. There's meaning behind all of it. There are no accidents. Animals are amazing teachers. And so there's actually a book by animal communicator Danielle McKinnon called Animal Lessons, I think it's called, that sort of explains that aspect. And so I called the animal communicator, and she, I know her. She's a friend of mine. The person I use her name is Jerry Carabin, Gerikarabin. And I didn't say anything to her. I just said that, one of our barn cats had passed away, and, I just went, I'm going to go to her website. I'm booking a reading. I didn't say anything else to her. So I just told her the name of the cat, and, obviously that she had passed, and that was it. And what was interesting to me is she said to me, like, she's like, okay, big deal. So I've passed. Like, why are you so upset? And what I have learned is that animals, like, death is not the same thing to them. It's just like moving from one moment to the next. Like, they are like, whatever. And, she said to me, I didn't say to her that that we didn't find a scratch on her or anything like that. Hi, Linda. But she said to me, she's saying to me, like, she orchestrated this, like, this was what she wanted. And I said, but she was so young, and, I don't understand, and her sister, and blah, blah, blah. And, so I said, I go, okay, so she orchestrated it. And she's like, yeah, she's saying, like, she was ready to go. She's like, you have to understand, while you felt like she was your cat, she was also a feral cat, and they're not attached to humans in the same way as an indoor pet. Okay. And so what she said to me, which I want to share with you, which I think is very interesting, is that if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, who is Esther Hicks is an author, and Abraham Hicks, she brings through the consciousness of Abraham. You can look her up if you're not familiar with her. And one of the things that Abraham had said through her was that animals stay as long as they stay, and they live as long as they live. So you hear about, like, I had a cat who lived till 17. There's cats who live till 23 or whatever. 23 might be pushing it, but 21 I've heard. And what she said, what Abraham had said, is animals stay for us. If it was up to them, they'd be jumping in front of a car every 3 years to get a fresh, frisky body, because that's how little death means to them. But they stay around for us because they're teaching us, because there's lessons involved in your animals. Your animal is teaching you, whether you realize it or not. They came into your life for a reason. They're teaching you certain things. Every animal that you come in contact with, but especially your pets. And so she was like, this is nothing to her. She's fine. Like, she wanted to do this. She was ready to go. She did say to me that, she said, I'm not getting that anything attacked her. And I said, no. And she said, no. She goes, she's saying to me it was internal. It was natural. It was internal. And so I said, yeah, that would make sense. And so we had to let go of it. And what made me feel better is she was so like, she's fine. Like, she's letting you know she's fine. She's letting you know she orchestrated this. She was ready to go. And so I said, okay, I'm obviously going to accept it. I'm not going to be happy about it because I love her and I miss her, but I'm going to accept it. And then my next fear was the cat that's still out there. So we have another cat out there that was the first, the original pair that when we bought this house 4 years ago, we took over feeding. His name is Rusty, sweetest cat. And so I was like, oh my gosh, my human brain is like, I need to scoop him up and take him inside. I can't take the stress. And so I said to her, listen, can you just check? if he's okay if I bring him inside. Because I can't take the stress anymore. And I just want him, with me. And I feel like, what if he's going to be lonely now? Because now he's the only cat and he's never been an only cat. Now, granted, we have goats out there, but still. And so she was like, I'm connecting with Rusty. And he's saying, like, if you really have to bring him inside, he'll do it or he'll try it. But that's all he knows is this barn. He was actually born in the barn, apparently, and he's lived there for like 16 years. And we've just known him for the past, 4 years, but we've been taking care of him. And she's like, he's really saying, like, he's okay. Like, he's a night watchman. She's like, he likes to walk around and do the rounds, and that's his job. And you're going to take that job away from him. And, he says that if he's lonely, he'll come closer to the house, and then maybe you can try and get him inside. And I believe it and I respect it. And it makes sense because that's all he's known is that barn, right? He knows us, but he's even sketchy if my husband and I go out at the same time. He's like, what's up? Why are there two of you? You know what I mean? Like he's a barn cat. So I had to let go of that control of trying to scoop him up and take him inside. And I just wanted to take him to a vet and then take him inside and keep him in my control, because I thought, God forbid, he's going to get lonely. And so I had to let that go. And so he's still outside. I go out several times a day to check on him, to give him treats. He's always very happy. He seems great. He's old as well, which is one of the reasons why I just wanted to scoop him up and take him inside. But what I learned from this and what I wanted to pass on and what I know from again, if you're interested in pets and pets who have passed over or anything like that, you can look up Danielle McKinnon, who is an animal communicator. She has a YouTube channel where she has different videos on it, but she talks about the fact that our animals plan their own death. They orchestrate who is going to be there, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. If they pass at home, they wanted to pass at home. If you wind up having to take them and put them down, they orchestrate it. They orchestrate all of it. And I remember when I was grieving my first pet, who was my cat Phoebe that I had for like 17 years. I got her when she was 6 months old, right after my mother died. I rescued her. She rescued me. And I remember hearing these things about how our pets orchestrate it all, and that death is nothing to them, and that it's just moving from one moment to the next for them. And they're totally not attached to their form the way that our, humans are. Helped me to realize that it was okay and that they were okay. And that what I did, I made the choice of putting my cat Phoebe down. And it was because there was really no other choice at the point. I mean, I waited until there was no other choice. And after my cat Phoebe died, she came to me in dreams the same way our loved ones can come to us in dreams. She came to me in dreams. I'll never forget. I had a dream where she made the stairs to my bedroom, and she came up and she put her little paws on me, and she was just looking at me, and I knew she was there to tell me she was okay. And I just know that they can communicate in the same way. And they will move things around the house the same way your loved ones will move things around the house. I remember hearing a story of someone whose dog passed away, and every morning they would bring them their slippers, and they woke up one morning and their slippers were pulled out, and they know they didn't do it, right? So all of those things are possible with our pets the same way that they're possible with a loved one. Now, I want to share with you about signs. So, and the fact that they can give you signs the same way a loved one can give you signs. And I'm going to share with you another story from my life that illustrates this. I actually did a video a couple of years ago, I think, for my YouTube channel on this when it happened. But like I said, we took over this house. There were 2 barn cats out there. And one was Rusty and one was Pretty Girl. They were brother and sister. And we were taking care of both of them. And then Pretty Girl went, I had seen Pretty Girl like throwing up one day. And I was like, oh, I hope she's okay. And then I went out that night and I didn't see her. And then she disappeared for a couple of days. And then I had a heart attack. And of course, called an animal communicator. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Tell her to come back, right? Like, what is she doing? I'll take her to a vet. And I remember the animal communicator saying to me, she would be back in 3 days, I believe, is what she originally said. She'll be back in 3 days. And I was like, okay. I'm like, but 3 days is too long for a cat to not be eating and drinking. And I remember I went out, and all of a sudden the road that I walked to the barn, she was just laying there. And so long story short, I scooped her up. She made me chase her into the woods, but I scooped her up and I got her and I took her to a vet, and she was not well. And they said, listen, her kidneys are going, her liver was going. There was like a million things going on with her. And so my husband and I had to make the choice to put her down. And this was the first time that I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to assign a sign to her before they put her down. And I'm going to see if she sends it to me. So I was in there. I was by myself. My husband was at work. They leave you in the room with your animal. So I was left with my animal, and I sat with her. And again, this is a feral cat, and she wasn't even as friendly and loving. I mean, you could pet her. She tolerated you. Let's put it that way. She was one of those I will tolerate you cats. Rusty is like a loving, lovey love bug. And I sat, and she looked right at me in my eye. And I said to her, pretty girl, I hope that I'm doing the right thing. I'm hoping making the right choice. I'm hoping that you came and laid out in front of that road so that I could help you. And I'm going to ask you, please send me a sign to let me know not only did I do the right thing, but that you are okay. And that this is that this is all okay. And that Ryan and I, my husband and I, did the right thing. And I looked at her and I was like, can you use the sign of a butterfly? And then I stopped and I said, actually use a blue butterfly. Can you use the sign of a blue butterfly? Just show it to me within the next couple of days so I know that we did the right thing and that you're okay. She just looked at me. I swear she was looking right at me. And they put her down. And I was distraught. And oh my gosh, it's a horrible experience to go through. And so I came home, and it could not have been, it was less than 2 hours after I left her and left the vet's office. And I came home and I was texting a friend. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so, I was telling her what happened and that I had to scoop her up and take her to the vet. And, they said there was nothing they could do for her. And I had to make the decision. And it was just so heartbreaking. And I'm so distraught and all this other stuff. And so my friend is texting me, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The poor girl. And in the text, she posts something like, and again, if you go to my YouTube channel, I have a video on this where I post the actual text in the video so you can see what I'm talking about. But I have the text where she texted me, something like, oh, that poor girl, or oh, something, and use the emoji of a blue butterfly. Now, in all the years that I've been friends with her, she has never, ever sent me an emoji of a blue butterfly. She sent me lots of different emojis, but never a blue butterfly. And I looked at the text and I said, oh my God. So I texted her back. I go, oh my God, you have no idea what you just did. And I explained to her, and she said, Tammy, I don't even know why I chose the blue butterfly, because I was going to send a heart. And then something made me choose the blue butterfly. And I said, oh, I know what made you choose the blue butterfly. And it was the most outstanding, amazing thing that I had ever seen before. And I knew, I was like, this girl was like, Tammy, don't worry about it. I wanted it. Let go. I'm okay. I'm going to give you the sign as soon as possible so that you can stop feeling badly about what happened. And it was unbelievable. It was truly unbelievable. And I share that again because if you ever, listen, I hope this is not happening to you anytime soon, but if you ever are in that position, please assign your pets a sign, and please know that they will respond and they will send it. And she was proof of that for me. Now, I did not assign a sign to Citrine only because I had talked to the animal communicator a couple of days later, and she confirmed, like, this is no big deal for me. I orchestrated it. You're fine. And so I felt like I didn't need that confirmation. But with Pretty Girl, I felt like I needed that confirmation. And so that's why I did that. And she responded amazingly. So I tell you all of this because I know that I was meant to take in those cats, even though they wound up passing. I know that I was meant to give them a home. They were rescued from like a rooftop in Queens, and somebody was looking for, someone with a barn to home them. And we took them in and we kept them in a caged area for months to get them used to it. And, you know, they stayed, they stuck around, they were happy. But I just feel like they were meant to be here for a little while and pass on. And it was a lesson for me. And it was also, you know, a way for me to help these cats. Now, having said all that, after going through all this, I've never been a feral outdoor cat person. No disrespect to you if you let your cats outside. That's totally your thing. I can't take it. The stress is too much for me. I'm too much of a control freak. I like my animals with me. I like my animals in a controlled environment. I like to know that they're there. I like to know they're not going to get hurt or lost or something. Like, that's just my type A Virgo personality. I can't do it. And so I now know no more outdoor pet. Like, my husband's like, well, maybe we can find other feral cats that need to be rescued and, you know, but can't be indoors. And I said, nope, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. That I am done. I am done with that. I want to rescue every animal in the world. I want to take the chipmunks and bring them inside. I love animals. I cannot do it. And so I just can't. I can't do it. And I can't let my cat outside because I'm too paranoid that, God forbid, something's going to happen or she's not going to come back. I just can't. I know I'm that type of person. So I learned that also. But having said all that, I wanted to share it with you because I feel like it's something I think that people don't realize. Like, I feel like you think of like humans who pass on or human beings that were a soul in a body, but animals are the same way. There's a soul. They're a soul in the body. They come to you for a reason. My cat, Phoebe, came to me 6 months after my mother died because I was in a house by myself with my father at the time, and we needed something else in that house to drive our attention to something else. And she came at the perfect time. I remember I was looking for a kitten, and everybody said to me, it's not kitten season, Tammy. You're not gonna be able to get a kitten, because I think it was like January, because my mother died in the end of December. And all of a sudden, a friend of my aunt was like, you're not going to believe this, but I know somebody who found this kitten at work that was hanging out in like a warehouse and brought her home, but the child is allergic and they need somebody to take the kitten, and it's only 6 months old. She was meant for me, right? So your animals come to you for a reason. They're teaching you. They're helping you heal. They're helping you learn to love yourself. They're helping you learn unconditional love. They're helping you learn to relax and to feel safe and to be seen. They're helping you with so many different things, and there's a reason for it. And so, again, whether it's a pet that you have for a year, whether it's a pet that you pet sit, whether it's a pet that you come across somewhere, or a bird that lands, you know, and is staring at you through a window, whatever it is, the animals are here to teach us, to give us messages, to send us signs. And they can 150,000% respond to you from being passed on in the same way that a human responds. There's been so many times that I have been in mediumship, like group readings, where all of a sudden someone's dog will come through. I had a friend whose horse passed away, and a medium brought her horse through. And they don't even realize sometimes that they're talking to an animal, because it communicates in the same way as a human. And then they'll go, wait a second, is this a horse? Or wait a second, I think I see a dog running around. Have you lost a pet who is, you know, and they'll describe what the pet looks like. I've had my cat Phoebe come through, and they'll say it's a gray and white cat. And she was gray, white, and black. So it's important for you to know that, because I talk about signs and synchronicity, and I talk about, you know, loved ones who have passed on and all of that stuff. And it really does. Animals are the same. And I just think it's very interesting, because we sort of attach human characteristics to these animals when it comes to death. And to them, it's so not a big deal. It's just not a big deal. They're not attached to their bodies. They're attached to you, which is why they stick around. They stick around for you, but they're just not attached to it in the same way. And it's just not as upsetting to them as it is to us. Even when the animal communicator that I spoke with, you know, talked to Rusty, who is still there, he was like, he's okay. Like, he knows what happened to Citrine. He knows more than we do. And he's okay. Like, it's not a big deal to him. And I was like, but he's going to be lonely. And she's like, he's like, leave me. Like, I'm good. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But I do very much believe in animal communication the same way I believe in mediumship and all of that. And I highly recommend, whether your animal is alive or passed, to get a reading at some point, because it's great to see sort of the lessons that they're teaching you while they're here, how their behavior and the things that they do or don't do are complete reflections of lessons they're trying to teach you. Again, if you look up that Animal Lessons book by Danielle McKinnon, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's fascinating. And so I learned a lot through this, and I just wanted to pass it on because I know so many of us have pets, and so many of us love and adore them more than we do the humans in our lives. And because they're just so unconditionally loving. And I just wanted to share all of that with you in hopes that maybe if you are in a situation where you have a pet, the pet is sick, you're not sure what's going to happen, or God forbid, you've just put a pet down or you've just lost a pet. I just want to share that sort of perspective and what I had learned from it, because it helped me tremendously when I first learned it, when I first put my cat Phoebe down years ago. And it's just a different way of, it's a more elevated way of looking at it and understanding it and moving through it. And so that's why I wanted to come on here and share this with you, and just know that any animals that you're with right now are teaching you. Even their death is teaching you. They are very involved in it. They really do orchestrate it. They are not attached to it in the same way that you're attached to it. And hopefully that will help you in some way. Because again, I know there's just nothing like the death of a pet, no matter what the circumstances are, to just be devastating. And obviously we were very upset, and it's still hard for me to go out there and she's not there. But I know that she's at peace, and I know that she came through to say to me, like, girl, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it. It's, I know you miss me, but I'm good. And this is what I wanted. And that sort of helps. It helps. So I hope this helps you in some way. I just want to check any comments. And if you have any questions, let me know. Hi, Linda. Oh, you're watching from Alabama. Oh, Cindy says, my Mosey cat comes to me in dreams. They really do. You guys, they communicate the same way a loved one who has passed on will communicate, because they want you to know that they're okay, and they want you to know that you did the right thing, and that that's the biggest thing when we make the decision to do it, even if it's so obvious that we have to put this animal down because they are suffering, and it's so obvious, and they make it obvious on purpose because they're trying to help us make the decision. Even when it's so obvious, it's heartbreaking, and you still think, God, did I do the right thing? Should I have done another treatment? Is there something, like, you beat yourself up over it, and they really don't want us to do that. So hi from Colorado, Jackie. Oh wait, let me see. There's a question from Lynn. Do our pets have multiple lives? From what I have gathered, yes. From what I have gathered from mediums, from other animal communicators, yes. The question of whether your cat or your dog or the soul of your pet will come back to you again and again, I know some instances where that has happened, yes, but not all the time. And so I've heard of both of those. I've heard, yes, our pets have multiple lives. And that's why that Abraham Hicks quote of, like, if it was up to them, they would jump in front of a car every 3 years to just get a new, fresh, frisky body. Makes sense. So yes, I do believe that they have multiple lives. And I have heard of instances where a pet will come back, the soul of a pet will come back to someone in another body. I don't think it happens often. And I know Danielle McKinnon talks about this as well. I don't think it happens often. Like, I know my cat Callie is not the soul of my cat Phoebe. And I remember actually having an animal communication session after Phoebe died, and being told she was going to be sending me my next cat, and that this cat was going to be a love ball, a love bug, so sweet. She's literally sleeping in my lap right now. because Phoebe was not like that. She was not a lap cat. She would come and sit on my lap periodically if she felt like it, or she would snuggle next to me and like be touching me, but not necessarily like on me. Yeah, I'm talking about it. She left. But I remember her saying that she was going to send me a cat and that it was going to be a love bug and that she was going to be nervous and I was going to have to teach this cat to calm down. And my cat is a wreck. My cat, Callie, is crazy. God love her. But like, even if I walk past her too fast, she jumps. Or, God forbid somebody came to the house that doesn't live in this house. She's gone, wants no part of it. So, and eventually, if you're one person and you stay in the house long enough, she'll hang out. She'll eventually kind of peek out and be like, maybe one person's okay. More than one person, you will not see her for the duration of the time. So that's the other thing too, is your pets will often orchestrate you getting your next pet. That's another thing that I've seen it in my own life again, and I've heard it from animal communicators before, that they really do help you find your next pet and not to feel guilty about getting another pet and all that other kind of stuff. And it's the same thing with loved ones, honestly, who have passed on. There's so many times that I've heard from people that they've gone to a medium and their loved one will say to them, like, I'm helping you find your next husband or wife or whatever, like I'm playing a role in it, because they want you to be happy. They want you to be happy. It's a different perspective when you're passed on to the other side than that human lens that we look through things, being here. And again, this is all things that I've learned just through interviewing so many mediums over the years and having friends who are mediums and animal communicators and all of that. So it's just a very different perspective on things. And I'm very much about finding meaning in things. I teach about signs and synchronicity. I teach about guidance and higher help from the universe. And it's a different perspective of looking at things. And so I wanted to share it in hopes that someone else who might be going through something with an animal can be helped in some way. So God bless our little Citrine and Ruby, who has passed on, and Pretty Girl, who I talked about all of those people, and Phoebe in this video. And I know that they are around, and I know that they were loved when they were here, and I know that they are at peace wherever they are now, probably with my mother. And that's the other thing, is anytime an animal passes, I always tell my mother, like, can you grab them for me on the other side and hang out with them? And, you know, and my mother has come through in the past saying that she has the cat, or she has, you know, we had a mini horse that also lived in the barn when we took over the house, who passed away. And she's talked about having the horse with her. So it's just a comforting thing. It's a comforting thing. And know that, you know, animals really, it's very similar to humans, in terms of being able to communicate with you and them living on and their soul living on. And, it's a great feeling just to know that, at least, right? To know that they're okay, and to know that they are, that they've made those choices and that you didn't do anything wrong. And especially that assigning a sign, please take that. And even if your pet has already passed on and you've never, talked to an animal communicator, you can assign a sign to them right now and say, listen, I heard this crazy lady on, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, wherever you're watching me. And, she said that you could send me a sign, and you've been passed however long, and I really would like you to send me a sign. And you can even give them a specific sign. Give them a blue butterfly, like I gave Pretty Girl. And then just see if it pops up for you. I promise you it will. And if you don't get it, I always say, if you don't get it, ask again and say, I probably missed it. You probably sent it. I probably missed it. Please send it again. So that is my, weekly spirit boost for today that I wanted to share with all of you. I hope you have an amazing and beautiful rest of your day, rest of your week. I'll be back here next week myself. And then the following week, I'm actually bringing a friend on to the weekly spirit boost with me, which I'm excited about. Amy Lee McCree. She's an amazing medical intuitive. And she actually wrote an awesome new book called The Healing Home. And so I'm all about crystals and energy and feng shuiing my home and all of this stuff. So we're going to get into that. It's going to be fun to have her on talking about that. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks as well. And And I just love being here with you guys. So thank you for coming and hanging out with me. If you're on the replay, be sure to like or leave a comment. I'll always come back and answer whatever I can. But the more that you like and comment and share, the more this message and the algorithms of the world get out to other people. So I appreciate that. Thank you all for being here. And I will see you back here next week at noon on Thursday. Bye, everybody.